Thanks, firstly, for accepting my invitation and accepting to be on my show.
Of course, yeah, and thank you for having me.
So I've gone through your profile. I can see you're the founder and CEO of Southlake Consulting. So I thought to tell about the service that you're providing and why you created this and what is your intention and what problems that you want to solve with this.
Sure, yeah. So we started the company about a year and a half ago because I myself wanted to build a mobile application. We had a lot of trouble finding good software development teams, and I was bootstrapped and just looking at Fiverr and Upwork, had all this trouble finding good devs. And eventually I found this current team, my current co-founder, Kasim Masood. So Kasim is based in Lahore in Pakistan. So we have over 50 software engineers that are working for us. They're working on US hours. They all speak English fluently. They're working with me as well. Obviously, like I'm in Dallas, Texas. But so I think that pain point that we're solving is this kind of intermediary between the offshore dev teams and somebody, myself here in America, and we're able to also provide a more cost-effective solution while having developers that are fully vetted. My co-founders on site, he worked with them, that they're all in the office. A lot of these remote teams today, if somebody's more junior level, they have trouble. It's like a lot more difficult if they're stuck in terms of troubleshooting. So everything for us is in the office. We're able to kind of, overcome those challenges and those pain points that a lot of agencies are facing today with the remote work that we're seeing. So
And what kind of problems that you're solving?
sure. So the problems that we're solving are related to, so we build custom software, mobile applications, websites. So the problems that we're solving is just those pain points, right? Because I think so many Americans have skepticism about working with offshore agencies. And we're able to kind of minimize it and saying, hey, listen, like, some agencies are good, some are bad. Same with any company, right? But it's kind of saying like, for us, it's not about money, right? For us, we don't charge our customers if they're not satisfied. For us, it's our success is their success. So we're kind of saying, listen, like, we're not going to hound you for money. Like we work in milestones. So every time we hit a certain milestone, then you pay us. And for us, like it really incentivizes us to do a good job. And we don't work with everybody, right? We really want to work with people that are motivated, people that are able to be fully committed because we're fully committed to every project. So we don't want somebody that's kind of halfway in it, especially if somebody's bootstrapped. So we definitely work with lots of bootstrap founders. But I would say just, solving that pain point of more cost effective solution, providing, building customized softwares from scratch, building customized mobile applications, websites. We also do SEO and social media marketing. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it's kind of the offshore slash American partnership and providing a more discounted and also effective. We're gonna. I mean, yeah, maybe you can get somebody cheaper if you go straight through Fiverr or straight through Upwork, but we also have somebody here in the U.S., so we're able to kind of. It's still pretty affordable, but it's just something that's more vetted. It's more thoroughly vetted, and like I said, I mean, we're all in the office. Our team, we have over 50 people. They're all in the office every day. We're able to kind of manage them more efficiently, so our work actually gets done, and we deliver on time as well.
So, in this 1.5 year, what kind of projects that you did and for which industries you worked for?
Sure, yeah. So one of our projects that we built is called Vessel Health. So that's health tech. And really what their business is, it's a B2B SaaS, right? B2C SaaS. And really for them, so there's like dietitians that are working with individual people. And they're actually a global company. They have clients in the UK, they have in the US. They're based out of San Diego. Um, but that was health tech. A different client of ours is Spenny. It's a mobile app. It will soon to be a mobile app. It's like a Shopify website that essentially is, like I say, a marketplace. So you have one Shopify seller and a bunch of other sellers that are kind of integrated with this marketplace. So that's two of our larger projects. We have a couple of other projects in the pipeline for me. Our company was kind of slowly, getting up, and we started like the first year and a half, it was kind of like one project. I was doing it part time, but about 2 months ago, I jumped in to do it full time, and we have lots of projects in the pipeline, like, lots of projects that we're starting in the next week or two. So it's definitely now is an exciting time because, I'm fully committed. I'm 100% full time with this. And, like I've been traveling. I'm just in Austin a lot. Austin is big for tech, as you probably know. So I do go there a lot. But yeah, I mean, health tech and then, wedding registry. We're definitely trying to niche down. It's kind of our focus, but it's just kind of all like a work in progress right now because we are sort of like a startup. But yeah, I mean, so that's kind of where we're at.
So I'm sure you might have a lot of experiences in technology. So what are those experiences and what technologies you work for and what technologies you are providing through this service and what are that thought that made you to start this at the same time? Why this name?
Sure, yeah, yeah. So for me, honestly, I'm not a software engineer. I've never coded in my life. But I mean, so we work, Node.js, Swift, Kotlin, PHP, Laravel, Flutter. Our stack is pretty extensive, and we have lots of resources. Like my co-founder, Kasim in Lahore, he has other resources sometimes that we bring people in for certain projects. So he's like the more technical guy. But for me, yeah, I mean, I'm more like on the business side. So for me, it's just like I just love tech. I never learned how to code. I wish I did. But it was just, like I said, I've always been very like, entrepreneurial. So I wanted to build this app, had trouble finding good developers, realized so many people have the same pain point, right? So just being able to kind of provide this service and say, listen, like we can do it. Like I mentioned earlier, it's kind of like American offshore partnership. Um, but in terms of this name, so Southlake is actually a suburb in the Dallas area. So it was just, I was living in Tarrant County, so I'm in Dallas County now, but it's like the suburb Southlake. It's in the same county. And I was living in a town called Fort Worth, and I was like, oh, maybe Fort Worth. I was working for a company also called Providence Consulting that was not like in Providence. So I'm like, we're close enough to Southlake. I'm like, I just like the name, and I ran it by a few people, and they're like, that's a good name, and it was available. So I'm like, why not? So yeah, it's just like a suburb like around here. And people always ask me, are you based in Southlake? And I'm like, no, I'm not, but maybe, one day. It's a very like expensive kind of like wealthy suburb. So maybe one day, but yeah, we're not based in Southlake, but we're pretty close to Southlake. So it's in the same area.
So starting from nothing and now today you are able to do so much things and able to solve different things. How do you feel about this process that from day one to today?
I mean, it's exciting. Day one, it's like, even just for more backstory, right? So it's like when we first started, it was just me. It was like damn, like on Upwork, and our team in Pakistan was running my account with a VPN. I mean, that's what it was, and I wasn't doing anything. And then my co-founder forgot to turn on the VPN, and then we got banned from Upwork because we were online with a U.S. account like in Pakistan. And then after that, this client Vessel was like, "We like your work, and we still want to work with you." And I'm like, that's crazy because like it's one thing if I think that we're good because like I don't really know that much about technology. This company, that they raise like millions of dollars, they have like 40, 50 employees. I'm like, okay, I'm like we can actually build a company because like this company thinks that we're actually good. So and that's when we started like officially at Southlake. But yeah, I mean it was definitely slow starting. Like I mentioned, last 2 months been doing it full time and just really spending lots of time on Twitter, and Twitter has been awesome for us. I mean, I've been able to get lots of leads, lots of calls from spending time on Twitter. So yeah, I mean, it went from 0 calls to me not really knowing what I was doing. And like, I think end of last year, we had a couple calls to now we have like, 5, 6 prospect calls a week, sometimes more, sometimes 5 in a day. I mean, my co-founder, like for him, it's like, Kasim, like he's living his lifelong dream. He's always wanted to do this, and he just was not good at business. And I didn't realize this, but for the last couple of years, like he didn't really pay himself. He was just trying to keep his door open. And I said, listen, like we need to kind of shake things up and really like, focus on, like on the business side. And obviously delivering for our clients, but we're also like, we're running a business. Like I always tell them, I'm like, this is not like a non-for-profit. Like we need to make sure if we have an agreement that if we're delivering that, we get billed like on, or get, paid on time, right? Cause I think for him, it's like, he's so worried about like, like upsetting the clients, losing his reputation, asking for payment. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, of course, like, we want to do a good job, but it's like, but at the same time, like we have people to pay. It's not just about me or you. And he didn't even take any salary for the last like, few years. But I'm like, we need to make sure that we're thinking about it more as a business as well. So yeah, I feel like every day, I'm learning so much. Like I'm working every day. Like, I mean, today's Sunday. It's like I work every day, but it's just like I'm learning a lot. Like our whole team is learning a lot. Like we have meetings, like, obviously they're in Pakistan, but like we're talking on the phone all day, all the time. And it's just, yeah, I mean, there's like so much learning happening. And even for me, like going to like networking events, like my first event that I went to, like I always say this, I'm like, I wanted to just turn around and go home. I'm not naturally somebody that goes and is able to go and talk to like, random people, but I've gone to like so many. I forced myself to go to so many, and now I'm like, fairly decent like at doing these events. But yeah, I would say it's just, doing things that you're just not naturally comfortable like at doing, and going out there and just pushing yourself. So yeah, from day one, it was not a lot, but I would say specifically, even like the last like few weeks, it's just call after call after call, and just, lots of interest. And so, yeah, I mean, it's definitely been fun. Every day is different. So
And tell me about UI experts, because you said there are 50 people who are working for you, for you.
tell you about our, like, what our expertise
Yeah,
is.
yeah, your experts, the team.
Yeah, sure. So we have developers that focus in different languages, right? So each, there's leads for each team. So we have, like I said, we have people. Our main stack is, Node.js, PHP, Laravel, Flutter. It's kind of like the main things that we work on. Obviously, Kotlin, and Swift, but that's like our main stack. But yeah, I mean, our team. And plus, so we also have designers in house. So we have a design team also working in the office. And then we have social media marketing, SEO. So that team is small. We're just kind of building that out right now. We actually just landed our first social media client last week. So that's kind of like a smaller thing for us now, but definitely something that I'm more heavily involved in, because that's something that I'm not like an expert in, but I have, pretty good knowledge. So I would say that's, one big thing. But yeah, so our team is like, we just have, folks that are specialized in different languages. And I think it's, if you have, one guy trying to do like 10 different things, it's like, it's not going to be a success. So oftentimes they're dedicated just to one project, like at a time. Some guys are doing maybe two projects, but yeah, usually it's kind of, we have this one project, when you put like two or three guys on it. We have one big project coming up in a few weeks that we're starting. So that project's going to be about 9, 10 guys. But yeah, it's really just, they focus on whatever's needed. I mean, we have daily stand-ups with them for 15 minutes. We have weekly calls. We have, a Slack chat where they can reach us like at any time. So it's just, yeah, like a lot of it is just communication and just making sure that we're, communicating with our client, because I think that's also sort of like a pain point. I think, when I talk to people and say, hey, like our team is in Pakistan, like, oh, well, I always worry about communication about, and I'm like, no, like we're available. We work U.S. hours. Like, you message us, we respond pretty quickly. Like there's no, and we'll update you like every day anyway. So even like, so there's no gap like in communication. So yeah, we have like a project managers too that are in the office like in Pakistan. So yeah, it's just making sure that we're getting with our clients and letting them know status updates and kind of what's going on.
And what kind of projects that you personally want to do?
Yeah. So right now, if it's up to me, people always ask like, what's your like ideal customer? I would say B2B SaaS VC funded clients, and because The thing is like I mentioned earlier, I'm solopreneur. Like when we work with people like that too, but it's just more challenging sometimes, right? Because it's your own money. It's every dollar matters. I mean, it's like a lot different, and sometimes expectations, like it's just more like, and yeah, and especially early on, we have like an hourly model, and hourly is not good because hourly is just like it's just much harder to kind of justify. I mean, I think milestones like full project like is the way to go, because it's better for the client, it's better for us. In terms of stress, it's like, okay, sure, things might get delayed, but you're not going to pay more. This is the cost and that's it, right? So, but yeah, I think it's like in terms of clients, like definitely VC funded companies because it's not their money. They're still very demanding, by the way, very demanding, but it's not as like, when it's just you yourself and you're like and it's your money. And sometimes you have people, and plus like with VC, it's like, the people there like that they're working for them, right? They're not actually like, so they're not going to reach me on a weekend. They're not going to reach me in the middle of the night. I mean, of course, like that's part of the job and I'm available, but it's ideal kind of, I try like nights and weekends to focus more on like operations, building out kind of what we're doing. Like if I'm taking meetings at those times, it kind of kills my productivity. So I would say, yeah, definitely VC funded, but obviously like at this point, I'm focused more on projects that we believe in. Like I had a call with somebody yesterday. I'm like, I did not understand this concept. I'm like, sorry, like I can't work with you because I don't like, to me it just didn't make sense. Like I don't want to work on something like that. So I think it's really just good concepts that make sense that I believe in. That if they're either already have revenue, first of all, if they have revenue for sure because there's demand for it, and if they don't, did they do the market research? Did they have the research? Did they speak with people and saying, hey, like, will they use this product? Because oftentimes people forget about that. They're like, oh, this is like the most amazing idea. I'm like, but who did you talk to? Did you talk to any, potential customers? Did you do any market research? Like I made that mistake myself, right? So I always encourage people like, listen, like if you don't have that data, I just don't want, because we only have so many people, right? Like I don't want to put people on projects that I don't believe in myself. So yeah, that's the biggest thing is like getting that data, like talking to people, trying to figure out if there's demand for it. Because if there isn't, like I said, I think I don't want to build something that's gonna, and also for our portfolio, right? It's like if we're building out projects that are gonna fail, it's like, do you know what I mean? It's like it's all like it's not good for us, So it's just I don't want projects like that. I mean, obviously most startups fail, of course, but I think also because people do stuff without, kind of like me, without even, that they're not as thorough with it, right? So that's kind of important for me.
And what is your strength as a founder of Southlake Consulting?
Sure. So I would say my strength is just being able to get in front of people and kind of showing them what we're doing. I mean, I'm also, like I said, I'm working with our team every day. So for me, it's like I mentioned earlier, right? Networking in person is big. And I think since COVID, people have forgotten like the importance of it. Um, if there's somebody local in Texas, Austin, Houston, Dallas, I'll meet them in person. I think that's important. Obviously, if they're further away, I can't always do that. But I think, I think also being persistent, because if you're talking about big ticket projects, those projects can take a while to materialize. And sometimes, and you just need to be persistent. If somebody says, okay, I'll get back to you in 3 days, right? So I set a reminder on my phone in 3 days. I'm going to message them and follow up with them and say, hey, how are things going? Because, that's a lot of it too, is being persistent. And I tell like my team, like sometimes you just have to be sort of annoying because people forget. I mean, some of these founders have so many things going on. So I think being persistent, I think, taking initiative. So trying to explain our team and motivate our team. Our team is awesome, but it's like the way that things were being done before I went full time. There were definitely some gaps. So I think it's just motivating people. And I tell our team every day, I'm like, listen, I believe in you guys, like you're an important part of our success. And it's just important sometimes to like think of things differently. For example, like we were posting on social media about our service offerings. Just, it's like nobody wants to see that. We're just going to get blocked. Like I always joke around, like we're just going to get blocked. It's like we have to, if we're going to post on social media, it's about adding value. It's all about adding value. So it's like, I always tell my team, I'm just like value, value, value. Like, think about that. Change your mindset. Like, why is Southlake good? Don't just say Southlake is good. Say why. Like I mentioned earlier, all of our USPs. Like, you need to get into the why. So I think it's just kind of shifting our mindset, and shifting like the mindset of our whole team, right? Because it's like obviously I think that we're good, and not that we're good. I think that we're great, and that we're like like the best team. But it's like nobody else knows that. Nobody else knows who we are. So I think it's just going out there and showing people that.
So, what are your qualities that are making you to solve the problems?
In terms of me personally, I think it's just listening. I think it's just listening, right? I mean, you have to understand like their pain points. I think especially in the sales process. And I'm not naturally a sales guy. I don't love sales per se, but it's like if somebody's telling you this is my pain point, you have to listen. You have to say, hey, listen, like, for example, I just had one client or, soon to be client, they're like, oh, we didn't have people that were experienced or what. I'm like, listen, we're working on something like this right now. It's like, we were afraid of communication. Okay. Yeah. Like we're available anytime. Like you call me, you text me. It's just, understanding kind of like what their concerns are and what their pain points are. I think listening is so important. I think just in general, when you're talking to people, um, networking events just on the street or just in general, I think it's just listening to them. So yeah, I mean, listening to pain points and trying to be a problem solver. Like I mentioned earlier, we can't help every single person, but also knowing our strengths and weaknesses. Because like I said, I don't want to take on projects that we're not going to be successful. So for us, it's understanding kind of what we can do and what we can't do.
So, how you are able to match the requirements of the businesses that you work for?
Sure. So, first, before we even start the project, we have several calls for alignment. Um, so we have, a few calls, and then once, we're aligned on requirements, then we start the project. So the biggest thing, like I mentioned earlier, is milestones. And I told my co-founder, I said, here's the scope of the work, and anything extra, we have a clause, is going to be an extra charge. In the past, he was just being too nice, and he was like, no, it's like, the problem is if there's changes, especially in a fixed price project, um, it can be problematic, right? So just understanding that and saying, listen, like, I told him, I said, if you go to like Burger King and you ask for cheese on your burger, it's going to be extra. It's like an extra thing, right? It's the same concept. So it's understanding kind of here's our requirements. And for us, if we're going to, if they want something extra, then, we're going to have to like, charge extra. And then I think in general also, if we have a clause in there saying like this project could be delayed, like we have a certain timeline, basically it's like on our requirements. But of course, like if they want to add something extra, it's going to take longer. So I think it's just, setting boundaries, because if you allow your customer to just, you know, make any changes at any time and expect things for free, then it's going to be a very bad and toxic kind of thing. So I think those things are important, just the way that you structure the contracts. I think, or sometimes like we have clauses saying, hey, like, these are the five most common things. We've done like a similar project saying these are the five most common things that, could happen. So just, we might charge like a little bit more to kind of account for these potential small changes. But yeah, I mean, it's like a learning process, for sure, but we definitely try and make sure that we set boundaries and that our communication is clear, because if you don't, clients, especially smaller clients, will often just take advantage of the situation. So it's important to kind of, have those transparent communications of requirements and milestones.
And what is the scale of the companies that you worked for?
In terms of our clients, yeah. So we have, Vessel Health. In terms of like how many people they have, or just like what their revenue is.
the size, which means they come under beginner, they are startup or mid level or.
Yeah, mostly startups right now. Like Vessel has been around for a few years. I mean, I don't know, 30 people maybe, 20 people. We have a couple solo founders that we've worked with. So, I mean, yes, more startups, like smaller, some mid-sized startups. It's, for example, like Vessel, one of their, you know, CTO, somebody who was involved with them like a year ago is like about to build something else. So we're kind of working with him. So it's like, startups, but oftentimes like the best situation is working with like a serial founder, because even if they're a startup, quote unquote, like this is not their first rodeo. They've done this before. So, but yeah, small to mid size. Like we have some clients that, are, I don't know, we've done like websites for people that are like, maybe mid size, like restaurant or something. But yeah, it's just, our biggest, we do websites obviously too, but we, love doing mobile applications and software. But yeah, it's small to medium sized businesses for sure.
And what is your way of looking at any problem that you get? I think when you're doing this or when you started this, you might have thought that I have something different in me that makes me very successful as a entrepreneur.
I think just there's no secret. I think it's just being responsive. When somebody emails me, I respond pretty quickly. Being available anytime, especially I always tell people text me, I respond to text right away. So I think it's responding to people and being transparent, saying, hey, I don't know the answer. I'm going to find it for you because, sometimes time difference, if, Kasim is sleeping or, whatever. So I think that's the biggest thing. I think just my work ethic, right? Like I work every day, long hours, long days. So for me, it's like, it's just putting in the time, and being open to feedback, trying to learn as much as possible. Every day I'm learning new things about how to handle clients or just in general, like how we can improve as a business. I think, especially like at this stage, I remember like somebody shared this on Twitter, one of my friends, and they said like every day at least try to get like 1% better, right? So I think it's just being open to feedback, being transparent, having good communication, being available. I mean, that's the biggest things. I know, like, and I always think of it like myself in those situations. Like if somebody texts me and if they, or sorry, it's like if I text somebody and if they don't respond for a while, I'm going to get frustrated, or email or whatever. So I always like email sometimes takes me like a little bit longer, but text, like if people text me, I'll respond with them like, a couple hours. Email, I'll maybe 12 hours, maybe less. If it's urgent, of course, like I'll make an effort to respond right away. But email sometimes not always like in front of my email, but I just try to respond right away. And even if it's a night or weekend, if I'm not working, if I'm traveling, um, that's the biggest thing because, your clients, even if you don't have an answer, that they want to make sure that they're being heard, that you're looking into whatever they're asking.
As a technical service provider, as a person who is solving problems of different businesses with the technology service or the tools or the experts that you have in your company, uh, uh, can you able to solve any problem that belongs to any industry?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's industry specific. I think it's more of just, language specific or what they're looking to do. For example, like one of our clients, Spenny, you know, she brought us in. So that's the wedding registry website. She brought us in as consultants at first, right? And I was like, listen, like, let's see what's going on with your current team. Let's understand kind of what's happening. And the team that she was working with, like at the time, it was 5 people on this project. They had one engineer and 4 business people. The engineer was very junior level. He didn't know much at all. And he was struggling. He just, he didn't have guidance at all. And my co-founder was guiding him at first. And I said, listen, like, it's up to you, but you're going to spend way more money because we charge way more for consulting because it's my time and Kasim's time than if we just took over this project. So we had to rebuild it from scratch because the way it was built was awful. The code was awful. it took time for us to investigate the code. As you know, like that could take time, right? I mean, it took us like, like a week or so just to kind of, and even now sometimes that we find bugs, just from that code was like, messy. So especially taking out code that you didn't build yourself, can be challenging. But yeah, it's not industry specific. I think it's more of just, project specific. I mean, we have resources that have worked in blockchain, Web3, AI, AR, NFT space. So it's like, we have those resources for sure. But I think it's just more basic on the project and, not industry specific, at least at this time.
And how much time you take to do any project?
Sure. So that varies. I mean, a mobile application can be a month and a half. Website. It just depends on like how dynamic it is. And, there's multiple ways to, do it, right? So we can build through like, WordPress, for example, but WordPress is obviously way faster, but it's not as dynamic. Um, it's not customized. It's not built from scratch. So we always advocate. We don't charge that much more to build things from scratch. It'll take us longer, but I'm like, listen, like I always tell like our clients, like if your vision for this company is to be a huge company, it's better to do it right the first time and pay a little bit more and build it from scratch. So it's like, for example, like, that could take 3 months, 2.5 months, it just depends. Because for us also, quality of work is really important. Um, so we always go back and we check, and with designs too, designs are based on likeness or dislikeness. So, you have certain, people will come back and say, like, I want this, I want that. So I think it's just making sure that we're aligned. And I always tell like our team, like, I'd rather take a little bit longer and not rush. But yeah, mobile application can be 1 month at a minimum, but some projects will take us 3 months. Some take 6, 7, 8 months. And we have one that's like software that we're like about to start building. It's like a customized software. So that project, could take up to a year, right? So it just depends. But yeah, it just depends on like what the scope of the work is, and what's needed. And some of those projects will just take more time, take more resources. You might have, instead of 10 screens for an MVP, you might have like 100 screens, right? So it's like that all takes time for design and, development as well.
And your clients are US based?
Yeah, everybody's in the US right now. We have calls with people. I don't know. I was talking to somebody like in Australia and the UK. Like we're open, to people in different countries. As of now, it's in the US. Everybody's in the US. But yeah, I mean, we definitely have spoken to people in different countries. I think at times, certain clients, like I have people reaching me from certain countries like Nigeria or places like that. But the problem is, obviously there's a huge difference in terms of like what their budget is compared to what we charge. So it just does not make sense, for us to even entertain those discussions. But, yeah, I think it's, for us, it's like we're open to working with anybody, but specifically we work US hours. So, for the US, client, it just makes more sense because we're able to accommodate more. And obviously I'm in the US. So yeah, I mean, US is kind of our main target, but yeah, I mean, I've definitely, reached out to folks that are, all across the world.
And how you charge your clients?
Yeah. So we charge them, on a project basis. So it's based in milestones. So it incentivizes us to have progress every time we deliver. So let's just say total cost is like, 10 grand, so we'll charge like 3,000 for the first milestone, 3,000, 3,000, 1,000, so it's like if the project will take 2 months, it'll be like, okay, like, with, first month, or like, our first 2 weeks we'll deliver this and you pay us 2,500 next, so it's kind of like in that sense. Like I mentioned earlier, it's like we used to do hourly, but hourly I think is a horrible model because the clients start to get upset. They're like, "Oh, you're wasting more hours," what? It's like they don't know 100% what's going on, and then things get delayed. I think also doing it this way incentivizes us to deliver faster because if we don't deliver, we're not going to get paid, So it's like it incentivizes us to make sure that like we're delivering on time, because yeah, I mean we're not gonna be able to invoice. I mean that's our agreement. So it's kind of because for us, the way I view it also, like we're a partnership, like we're an extension of our client, like we're all one team, so it's like we want to deliver and want to do a good job and do it on time. Like we don't view it as like, oh, we're one company and you're one company. No, like we're basically your team. Like that's how we view it. So it's important for us to deliver on time and to do a good job.
And as a business owner, how you hire people?
Sure. So the hiring pretty much is done through Kasim. He has like his own company in Pakistan. So like his company comes through us. Um, so our team right now is mostly all like in Lahore. Um, but in terms of, we're hiring some new people now and like on the BD side. So I'm interviewing them. I prefer, so yeah, in terms of like software engineers, he does that. He interviews them, he vets them, he tests them, that they come in the office. I don't deal with the hiring of software engineers. I'm not that technical. I can't do that, right? But in terms of BD, that's more of my, expertise. I look for people that don't have much experience, out of college, because the problem is oftentimes if they have experience, it's not good experience. So I prefer to hire people who are like just out of college, people who are motivated, people who are like ambitious. And I always tell people, I'm like, listen, like this company's a startup. So if you work hard, you could be a manager, you could be a director, anything's possible. Like I want people that are fully invested and are willing to also learn because they might not know a lot, which is fine. That's what I want. But in the U.S., we haven't done much hiring so far. We have 3 people. As far as 2 other people, we have one director of operations and one technology consultant. But it's people who are friends of mine that I know like their work ethic and they're very dedicated. So I think in the U.S. it's kind of like we're not focused on hiring so much there right now. But yeah, in Lahore, definitely, and also people that are willing to come in the office. Like we don't do any remote work in Lahore, so like you have to be in the office. You have to be willing to come in every day. If you're not able to make that commitment, that's just not going to work out.
I did masters in software engineering, also bachelors in computer science and engineering. And right now I'm doing cloud DevOps engineering work. That is one of the service that you're providing. I can see. So if you think I'm suitable for business related role or engineering role, kindly put me in your mind.
Yeah, I think you're definitely suitable, but I always tell people like the issue is that we just don't hire remote people right now. It's not. I think as we scale, we definitely are looking to build offices in different countries. I think, India for sure is, a country that has a lot of talent like yourself. I would just say as of right now, it's like, well, we're focused on hiring people that are in the office, are able to come in the office every day, people who live in Lahore. Um, but yeah, I think, as we grow, because I think it's like for us, right? It's like, we want to build out offices in different countries, because we want to have, good teams that are, fully dedicated and are able to work on many projects. I think the challenge sometimes is too, is that, like with an agency, I feel like the more you grow, sometimes your service levels can go down. So I think that what we're going to try to do in a year from now is focus more like on products. Maybe put like 10, like our agency's never going to go away, but I think maybe putting 5, 10 guys in R&D, building out a product or acquiring a product and taking it from like 1 to 100, so I think it's just, yeah, for us in person in the office. I mean, that's the only way that we're doing it right now. I think it helps us make sure that we keep a good grasp on our team. But I think obviously in the future that definitely, could change.
And what is the reason for the productivity that you are doing?
You're saying like in the office, like what's the benefit of in the office or?
For any project that you are creating or that you are working for?
Yeah, I mean, I think, in the office, it's just, like I said, especially for junior level people, it makes it easier. I think in terms of collaboration, it's just, listen, I've worked from home. I know what it's like. I've been an employee. If you're more senior level, I think it's easier, definitely easier. And I could see it, but I think if you're junior level, it's too hard, right? And many people create bad habits. Like if you have a routine, if you're a senior level, if you have 5-6 years of experience and you've worked from home in the past, okay, fine. Like you already have everything set. Like you've done this before. Like you know how to do this, right? But I think if somebody's like just out of college, for example, or junior level, like, or if they've never worked from home, it can be a problem. But I think, yeah, I mean, listen, for me, I've done both. I think it's just, people that could have worked from home need to be, I would say somebody who's worked from home in the past, right? Because like, if you've worked from home in the past, you already have a good routine, like, you know how to do it. And obviously I work from home, as you can see, I'm in my home. So, but yeah, I think it's just a matter of like, people that are, um, able to manage their time well. And, yeah, I think it's like, that's the problem, right? Cause I think, when I first started working from home, one of my first jobs after college, I had really bad habits, really bad habits. I got very lazy, and I remember I would just spend the whole day maybe on social media doing things I shouldn't be doing during like the work day. And then like 5 o'clock rolled around and like the day was over. I'm like, I got nothing done. So then I would just stay up late, like making sure I got it just, so I think it's like, time management for sure. It's like, if someone's dedicated, if they're able to manage their time, I would say it's not a problem. It's something that is, but it's like, yeah, yeah, I think also being like available, right? I think it's sometimes when people work from home, they're not available at the times when everybody else is available. I mean, I think eventually we're definitely going to, you know, look to, do other things and, scale up. But I think also it's just in the early stages it's really important to get a good grasp of everything that's going on, and that's why we're kind of imperative on that. But yeah, I think in the future definitely can and will change.
So at last, what do you say about your service to my audience?
What was that?
At last, what do you say about your work and the service that you are providing to my audience for listening
Sure.
to
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. Of course. So, like I mentioned, for us, you know, our success is your success. That's how we grow. Um, for us, it's just, our USP is, like I mentioned in the very beginning, it's like our team is offshore, but our hours are US hours. We're working from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central Time. Sometimes later, my co-founder in Lahore, he goes to bed at 6 a.m. Pakistan time and he wakes up at 2 p.m. I mean, that's just, it's what we have to do. So we accommodate our U.S. clients. And additionally for us, it's, communication, right? So we're available, every day. I mean, our team is working Monday through Friday and that we're responding to messages right away, and we're obviously cost effective that we're in Lahore, but just in general, it's, our team speaks English fluently. I mean, that's a requirement for us. Everybody in our team, there's no language barrier, there's no communication barrier. A lot of things are reached through me or Effie, who lives in New York. He's our director of ops. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's just for us, it's everything we build out is also very heavily customized. We make sure that every solution, every pain point is addressed for you. We don't build a one size fits all solution. So I think it's just, yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing for us. It's like we focus on delivering what you need, not what, is the most, like we don't cut corners. I always tell people we can build things from WordPress, we can cut corners, but it's not going to be good for your business. And it's not going to be good for us. So we definitely try and incentivize people and make things more cost effective to build things from scratch and not cut corners. But yeah, that's really important for us is that we work very hard to deliver your project. And that's a good thing about how, also how we work, right? When you talk about milestones, overall cost of project, we will put guys, that we're, working overtime, working weekends to get things done on time, because that's important for us to make sure that we meet our deadlines.
So I'll put your website link in the description of this video on YouTube, also on the screen as well. People who finds our video on YouTube can see it and can take the service that you're providing, for watching or for listening to this conversation from anywhere on this planet.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, like, I really appreciate it. We're definitely growing right now, and I'm excited to speak with anybody who's interested in using our services.
And I'll put your work, I mean, about your service in few words in my website as well. People who visits my website can see the work that you're doing, and also can know more about you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and it means a lot. And it's a great conversation.
And at last, as a founder, as a person who is into technology, as a person who is solving different problems for handling different projects, as a leader, what is your observation about my work?
I think your work is great, man. I mean, I watched some of your videos. I see the people that you're interviewing. I think it's something that there's a need for sure. And I think the coolest thing is like bridging gaps with people in different. Are you surprised? I'm like, it's like we're all people, and if somebody reaches out to me, I always respond to them because to me it's really important. It's really important to kind of say we're all in tech. We're all like people are interested, even if you're not in tech yet. Like I just think like those things are so important. You're helping kind of bridge that gap and saying, listen, like we're people. It doesn't matter where we live. It doesn't matter. As my co-founder always says, he's like, listen, like all these conflicts are based like on countries. Like it's the government. The people are people. It doesn't matter where you live. So I think it's just, we're all people, and I think it's awesome. Just kind of what you're doing. I think it's really cool.
And I interviewed more than 100 country people, and who are engineers, solutions architects, who are experts in different fields in technology from different technology companies like Microsoft, Google, Netflix, Amazon, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and also people who are non-technical, like who are authors, police officers, uh, 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 lawyers, also diverse lawyers, like film industry experts. So me talking with experts like this around the world, and trying to ask questions, and trying to learn how they are solving problems, how this experience is going to helpful for me in my work in coming days.
Yeah, I think it's, I always tell people this. You can learn something from everybody. I always like, and I have friends in all different industries that do different jobs. Everybody, it's like, because I might sit there and say, okay, like somebody, if they're even like a police officer, for example, they could be doing their work in a way, doing things that I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Like it's, crisis management. You're going to have crisis in your business like every day, right? And they deal with that several times a day. So I think it's just, there's always something to learn from everybody. And I think it's like it improves you as a person. And sometimes, especially when you talk to people in industries or in roles that you don't know much about. And like I said, like in the very beginning, I'm like, I always push myself to do things that I'm not naturally comfortable doing, talking to people that I might naturally not talk to. But I think it's like when you do that, I mean that's just incredible because most people stay in their comfort zone. Most people say, I'm just going to talk to like this person or that person, this person who's my neighbor, or whatever. Like if you talk to people all around the world, different industries, I mean that's how you grow as a person, first of all. But also it's like you learn so much just talking to them and having those discussions.
So can I put this video on my YouTube channel with your permission?
Yes, yes,
Also, can I put this audio and video clip on my podcast, website, internet, social media, everywhere with your permission?
yes.
Thank you, Dan, for your valuable time and sharing your knowledge, and about the service that you're providing, about the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much for having me. Like I said earlier, it was a great conversation, and thank you for your time as well.
Thank you, sir. Keep going.
Thank you. Thank you. And you as well.
Yeah. Bye.
All right. Thanks. All right. Bye.